In the news tonight, His Majesty attends the opening ceremony of the Middle East and North Africa Information and Communication Technology Forum. The King congratulates Donald Trump on his election as President of the United States and offers to work with him. And Jordan remembers the 2005 terror bombings at Amman hotels, which took dozens of innocent lives. Good evening and welcome to a new edition of the news. His Majesty the King attended the opening ceremony of the Middle East and North Africa Information and Communication Technology Forum. The forum, dubbed Digitizing the Economy, was organized by the Information and Communications Technology Association in cooperation with the Communications Ministry. It aims at developing the telecommunications sector in the kingdom by moving towards a digital economy, placing Jordan among top countries in the sector. The conference, held at the King Hussein Business Park, will shed light on exponential levels of development seen in the IT domain, which has an impact on the sectors of education, healthcare, energy, transportation and logistics, financial services and media, among others. The biennial forum also aims to build a vision on the ICT sector in the Middle East region and enable stakeholders to get acquainted with state-of-the-art technologies in the field. Minister of Information and Communication Technology and Minister of Public Sector Development, Majd Shweike, said the exponential forum has, as the technology world witnesses in endless shifts and rapid changes in the methods used for innovation, communication, and the practice of various business activities.
As we delve deeper into the digital age, it's the duty of the public sector to set an example and to illustrate that true change begins from within. Therefore, I'm glad to announce that we have put in place a 5-year plan to digitize governmental services, following a transformational methodology based on 3 main dimensions: re-engineer, digitize, and outsource. We refer to it as redo. And digitizing our public sector, we aim to enhance citizens' life, upgrade the business environment, and achieve efficient and effective government.
His Majesty the King congratulated Donald Trump on his election as President of the United States. In a cable to the Republican President-elect, King Abdullah said he looked forward to working with him to foster cooperation between Jordan and the United States and face the various challenges based on the strategic relations and common vision of the two countries. His Majesty wished the President-elect success and the American people further progress and prosperity. Donald Trump is the next President of the United States. The Republicans stunned the world by defeating Hillary Clinton in the race for the White House. The win, which came after a grueling and divisive campaign, ended 8 years of Democratic rule and set the United States on a new, uncertain path. President Barack Obama called Trump to congratulate him and invited him to the White House tomorrow to discuss the transition of power. Here's more.
Donald Trump has been voted in as the new U.S. president-elect, beating heavily favored Hillary Clinton in a move that stunned the world. He took the stage in front of supporters at his New York headquarters and promised to be a president for all Americans. Trump said now is a time to mend the country's political divides.
Now it's time for America to bind the wounds of division. We have to get together. To all Republicans and Democrats and independents across this nation, I say it is time for us to come together as one united people. It's time.
Trump was leading the polls for most of the night, much to the dismay of Clinton supporters. Before Trump gave his acceptance speech, Clinton's campaign chairman, John Podesta, addressed supporters who'd been waiting to hear from her for hours.
They're still counting votes, and every vote should count. Several states are too close to call, so we're not going to have anything more to say tonight. So listen to me. Everybody should head home. You should get some sleep. We'll have more to say tomorrow.
The presidency will be Trump's first elected office, and it remains to be seen how he'll work with Congress, even though Republicans were set to retain control of both chambers.
Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton conceded her election loss to Trump and said she offered to work with the president-elect.
Last night, I congratulated Donald Trump and offered to work with him on behalf of our country. I hope that he will be a successful president for all Americans. This is not the outcome we wanted or we worked so hard for, and I'm sorry that we did not win this election for the values we share and the vision we hold for our country. But I feel pride and gratitude for this wonderful campaign that we built together, this vast, diverse, creative, unruly, energized campaign. You represent the best of America, and being your candidate has been one of the greatest honors of my life.
President Barack Obama also urged Democrats to put aside their disappointment and work toward a successful transition of presidential power.
I had a chance to talk to President-elect Trump last night, about 3:30 in the morning, I think it was, to congratulate him on winning the election. And I had a chance to invite him to come to the White House tomorrow to talk about making sure that there is a successful transition between our presidencies. Now, it is no secret that the President-elect and I have some pretty significant differences. But remember, 8 years ago, President Bush and I had some pretty significant differences. But President Bush's team could not have been more professional or more gracious in making sure we had a smooth transition so that we could hit the ground running. And one thing you realize quickly in this job is that the presidency and the vice presidency is bigger than any of us. So I have instructed my team to follow the example that President Bush's team set 8 years ago and work as hard as we can to make sure that this is a successful transition for the president-elect.
World leaders offered to work with Donald Trump when he takes over the U.S. president. But there was a widespread concern over how he will handle problems from the Middle East to an assertive Russia and whether he will carry out a number of campaign threats. Here's more.
Donald Trump's presidential victory garnered congratulations from across the planet. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon said he hoped the administration of Trump will strengthen the bonds of international cooperation.
It is worth recalling and reaffirming that unity in diversity of the United States is one of the country's greatest strengths. I encourage all Americans to stay true to that spirit.
Russian President Vladimir Putin said his country is ready to fully restore relations with the United States. He said Moscow is ready to do its part to achieve this, but recognized it would not be easy. Britain's Prime Minister Theresa May said the two countries' special relationship would remain intact.
I look forward to working with President-elect Trump to ensure that we can maintain the security and prosperity of our two nations in the future.
German Chancellor Angela Merkel offered to work closely with Trump. Iranian Minister of Foreign Affairs Mohammad Jawad Zarif called for the American president to stay committed to the multilateral nuclear deal.
What's important is that the future U.S. president-elect is obliged to stay committed to this not bilateral but multilateral nuclear deal. And we are certain that the international community also has the same expectation.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called Trump, who invited him to a meeting in the U.S. at the first opportunity. Trump, who has no previous political or military experience, said after defeating Democrat Hillary Clinton that he would seek common ground, not conflict, with the United States allies. Hala Dababne for the News at 10.
Donald Trump's economic advisor, Peter Navarro, sought to reassure the markets. He said the president-elect will help boost economic growth once in the White House, aided by a Republican-controlled Congress. Worried that a Trump victory could cause economic and global uncertainty, investors were in full fight from risky assets. The US dollars, Mexican peso and world stocks fell, but fears of a Brexit-style shock that wiped trillions off global markets has failed to materialize so far. Here's more.
Just received a call from Secretary Clinton.
If much of the world is asking how and why, traders are asking where next. For now, the answer appears to be away from risk.
It's about us.
It's a déjà vu. It's Brexit 2.0, and it's going to take a couple of days, maybe even weeks, before they've redigested the outcome.
Stocks were among the first hit, though a tumble in Europe was followed by a rebound, a relatively modest reaction after a 5% fall on Tokyo's Nikkei. Traders pondering an uncertain future.
An important factor in all this is not so much who's become president, is that the Republicans have retained entire control of Congress. So if Trump wants to push through a radical agenda, and I guess he will argue that, of course, he has that mandate, then, you know, to what extent is the Republican establishment likely to be able to be a brake on that? At the moment, we just don't know.
Amongst the other big downward movers, US stock futures ahead of Wall Street's open. Mexico's peso at a lifetime low against a dollar that was also diving. But there were big gainers. Swiss stocks a traditional haven. Gold miners, gold itself expected to have its best day since the UK's EU referendum in June. Healthcare stocks up over 2% as potential risks to pricing practices in the US fade on a Trump win. The yen forcing Tokyo to signal it could intervene to weaken it if necessary. Analysts now wondering what it could also all mean for the Fed.
If you're seeing equity markets in particular under a lot of pressure, then the Fed could easily cite this as a reason to pull back from rates. Obviously, they won't want to be drawn into the political debate, although, you know, it's fair to say that we know that President Trump would not like Janet Yellen to be chairman of the Federal Reserve, for instance.
In the words of one trader, markets now face an epic challenge of the type they hate most, pricing in the unknown.
Jordan marked the 11th anniversary of the terror bombings at 3 Amman hotels, killing 60 people and injuring 115. Recalling the 2005 bombings, Jordanians today stand united in the face of the forces of terrorism, reiterating that the heinous acts of terror would only make the kingdom more determined to face this challenge. Prime Minister Hani al-Mulki said Jordan is strong and capable of countering terrorists and extremists. He said Jordanians' vigilance and unity would thwart any attempt to tamper with the nation's security and stability. Mulki paid tribute to the martyrs who died in the Amman bombings and the military and security personnel who fell in 2 terrorist attacks that took place during the month of Ramadan. He said the memory of the martyrs will live on. Senate President Faisal al-Fayez said the deadly Amman bombings and the terror attacks that took the lives of Jordanian military and security personnel would only embolden the kingdoms in the fight against the cowardly forces of darkness. Peshmerga forces drove Daesh out of Bashiqa east of Mosul but warned the residents who had fled the town not to rush back. The Kurdish forces said roads and houses might be riddled with explosives. The 2,000-strong forces of Peshmerga drove the militants from the town, which lies on the Ninva plain, some 15 kilometers from Mosul. Daesh snipers and suicide car bombs slowed down the advance of the Peshmerga, who entered the town's outskirts on Monday. But the head of the Kurdish forces said the town is now under the control of its troops. Armed U.S. soldiers are part of a 5,000-strong force, Washington says, is advising and supporting the Iraqi offensive. The American troops were accompanying the Peshmerga as they entered Bashiqa streets. In Syria, a U.S.-led coalition airstrike killed at least 16 people in a town north of Daesh stronghold of Raqqa. The U.S.-led coalition said it had no information on the report by the War Monitor, but would look into it. The coalition is providing air support to the Syrian Democratic Forces, an alliance which includes the Syrian Kurdish militia and some Arab groups in an operation to drive Daesh from Raqqa. Hundreds of civilians were fleeing Raqqa, having been liberated by the offensive after years trapped inside. Those who made it out say life under Daesh was harsh. Her Majesty Queen Rania met with a group of women actively engaged in social empowerment projects in the Governorate of Ma'an. The activists and volunteers, who are members of Al-Anwar charity organization for women, told Her Majesty the charity addresses issues residents in Ma'an face as a result of difficult economic and social conditions. The charity's president told Queen Rania its family counseling center has dealt with around 7,000 cases. The center provides psychological support, workshops and lectures to address a variety of social issues, as well as economic empowerment projects to its beneficiaries. Her Majesty commended the women on their effort to help their families and communities, explaining that social stability stems from the stability of the home. If you don't like high places, look away now. The Flying Frenchies are not afraid of height or looking ridiculous in silly costumes. This thrill-seeking group recently put on a display of surfing a zipline at speed of 75 kilometers per hour before jumping off into a ravine 600 meters below. The Frenchies are base, as in building, antenna, span, earth, jumpers who like to clown around with attitude at altitude. And finally, pleasant weather will continue tonight with temperatures 5 degrees above average for this time of the year with southern light winds. Tomorrow, fair conditions will also prevail across many areas, but it will be relatively hot in Aqaba and the Jordan Valley. The Gulf of Aqaba should expect moderate weather tonight and also mild tomorrow with moderate winds and calm seas. Next are the lows and highs for tonight and tomorrow. And to end the news, here's a recap of our top stories. His Majesty attends the opening ceremony of the Middle East and North Africa Information and Communications Technology Forum. The King congratulates Donald Trump on his election as President of the United States and offers to work with him. And Jordan remembers the 2005 terror bombings at Amman hotels, which took dozens of innocent lives. And with this we come to an end. I'm Farah Ajlouni. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.